Hello my gorgeous loves out there and welcome. In today's video, I'm going to be ranking my recent palette purchases. I'm going to go over them and give you guys my final thoughts since I've gotten a chance to really test all of them out. But before we get into this video, if you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Bri and I'm just a crazy lover of all things beauty, and I like to post a lot of fun, colorful makeup content. I like to do a lot of indie makeup, so if that is what you're into, then please hit that subscribe button and join this little family. But with that being said, let's get into this video. I feel like it's been a while since I've done a ranking on recent palette purchases, but I mean, we're only in March, so I shouldn't have that many palettes to rank. I have 12 here, and normally I would have 20 at this point, so I think I'm being better on my palette purchases, but I've gotten a chance to really test out all of these palettes, do a lot of looks, wear tests to see how I really feel about them, and now I'm ready to give you guys my thoughts on them. Now I'm going to rank them from like the bottom to the top. None of them are bad palettes. I think overall they're all good, decent palettes, or like really, really good palettes. I just have to rank them somewhere for the sake of this video. Now, if I happen to rank something really low that you love or rank something really high that you hate, please do not take it personal. This is all based on my makeup preferences, and how I do the ranking is I either base it on like quality, color story, versatility, how likely I can see myself using it, how cohesive is it, and I also factor in price tag as well. So that is how I do the ranking. Now, before we jump into it, if you are curious about this eye look, I did film it for Instagram. I did like a little reel. It's been a while since I've done that, and I did it with the Musée palette from Cosmic Brushes, one of the newer palettes that I just picked up in case you were wondering and you want to see this look in action. But anyways, I think we should now dive into the rankings. So at the bottom of the ranking, which is from a brand that I feel like their formula is no longer for me. Like, I really used to love all of their palettes, but now that I've tried so many different brands, I've kind of narrowed it down to the things that I really love. But this is the Aurora Struck palette from Colourpop. I think it's good for the price. You get a lot of options, and it's a beautiful color story. It's full of cool tones, purples, blues, grays, like everything I love when it comes to eyeshadows. But I feel like the formula is just okay at this point. I do think the mattes were, easy to work with, but I feel like the metallics are very lackluster. They're more on the subtle side or more like toppers, and I've had so much like experience with more intense foiled like indie shadows that's my go-to now. These are just a little too subtle for my liking at this point. And I used to be a huge Colourpop fan. Like, when I first got into makeup, I used to buy all their palettes, but that was when I still didn't know my preference when it came to makeup. But now I know what I like. I like super pigmented shadows. I like super intense metallics, and I feel like Colourpop doesn't fill those needs for me anymore. So I probably will stop buying Colourpop palettes, but I did think this color story was really pretty, and that's why I ended up getting it. But this is number 12 on the ranking. Now, the next palette is one that I'm surprised that it's so low on the ranking, because this is a brand that I adore so much and love their formula. But there was some misses with this palette. This is the La Cienega palette that was in their mystery box. It's a more nudie palette with a few like blues in here and like some cool tones. I think the formula overall is really nice in here. I like that it's a little bit more muted, because most of their palettes are very colorful, so they provided something different. There's just a few shades that I have a hard time working with, like these two right here. Redondo Beach and PCH is a very intense shimmer formula, and I feel like they're just really textured and thick, and they crease pretty bad on my lids. And they did mention that these are thicker shimmers that can, crease, and to use a really good primer. And I use this with really good primers. I've used them with glitter primers, wetting the brush. I've tried all different options, and no matter what I do, these crease really bad on my lids, and I just don't like the texture that it puts on there. I don't think it looks pretty, so I'm just struggling to get those to work for me. And I also feel like up here, the shades that I picked, I feel like don't match the best with the shadows that are down here, like with the metallics. I feel like there's way too many like cream color shadows in here. Like this one, and this one's basically all gonna translate on the eyes the same. I don't feel like this palette needed that many like light beige shades. One would have been enough. And maybe if there was like a blue in here, like a blue matte, I just feel like it's not the most cohesive color story that I've seen from Adept Cosmetics, but I still enjoy it and I'm still happy that I have it. It just, I don't think it's good as the other Adept palettes that I've tried. Now going on to a palette from another favorite brand of mine, and the only reason why this is lower on the ranking, it's overall a more nudie palette and I am a huge color lover, but this is the Surrender eyeshadow palette from Unearthy Cosmetics. This was in their Valentine's Day mystery box. Love that box. I love all their mystery boxes. They do them so well. But it's a more like nudie, toned down color story with some reds and berries. This was their Valentine's Day themed palette. So it makes sense the colors that they have in here. And it was very different from their last Valentine's Day release. That one was a lot more berry. So I like that they did something different. And I did a whole comparison with this against the, is it the Love palette from Natasha Denona? They're so similar. So I feel like you can get the same kind of vibe from the Love palette. If you already have that one and don't have this one, you're gonna get like the same looks. But overall, I think it's really pretty. It's just a little bit more muted and subtle for me. Now I do love this bright pop of red, and I think it's a really pretty palette. And when I'm in a mood for a more nudie, subdued kind of pinky red look, I would totally use this palette. Then the next palette in the ranking is from another brand that I really love. This is the ItsBel Cosmetics Fruity Realm palette. Now the only reason why this is not ranked higher is because it's an all matte palette, and I'm a shimmer lover. I will usually gravitate to a palette with shimmers more than I would gravitate to a matte palette, but I think the formula in here is really good. It's fun and bright and poppy. This is going to be perfect for spring in the summertime, and I think the quality is really good on this, and I think it's a perfect companion palette. And this is also not like a standalone palette for me because I always like to use shimmer, so I always have to pair this with either single shimmers or with other palettes that have shimmers in it to create like the kind of completed looks that I like to do. But it's still a very high quality palette. I really love just how bright and fun this is. Then the next palette in the ranking, which is more of a nudie but kind of murky palette that has muted colors in here. This is the Cosmic Dreamer palette from Ensley Cosmetics. There's a lot of shades to choose from in here. You can create completed looks with this. The matte formula is beautiful in here. Then there's some like intense metallic, some like dual chrome shifty shades in here. Now there is a lot of satins in here, which is not my preferred formula. I wish that there was less satins in here. That's probably why it's not like super high up there. But the mattes and the ones that are very impactful in terms of the metallics are really good and high quality. And I think this color story is really pretty, and I love the looks that I created with this. But I do feel like I wish there was more impactful shimmers in here. But overall, it's a really nice palette. Then the next palette, which I kind of customized, but it started off as the Evergreen palette that they came out with, I think during Black Friday. And I changed out 4 of the shades because they were shades that were also in their 1-Up palette. And I already have that one, so I didn't want to repeat shades. But this is my, I guess, customized version. I think it's so beautiful, and of course, because I picked the shades out, it's really murky, and that's what I love. I love like a lot of grungy tones, like these grungy greens in here, and then I added like a little pops of blues and purples. But I think the quality is really good in here. I feel like they've stepped up the notch when it comes to their formula. I think the mattes are way more pigmented than what I'm used to from Litho. They blend out, they build up, they're just so saturated. And the metallics in here are really pretty. I have some shifty dual chromes, and they're just so smooth and foiled. So overall, I just thought this palette was really pretty and cohesive and like my perfect palette because of course I customized it to my liking. So this is a really good one. I think the original color story for the Evergreen palette was really pretty. That included the 1-Up shade, so that one's a good option too. Then the next palette, which is a pricey one, that's why it's not as high up on the ranking, but this is the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Trove palette. This is full of 4 beautiful multi-chromes. They're super creamy, buttery, intense, and really shifty. Like the formula is so good, but this little guy is, I think, around $72, which is pricey for 4 shadows, but I know it's expensive to formulate these kind of shades and they're special shadows, but because I have a lot of this already in my collection, I have these from Davina, Cleona, other brands, Glaminatrix, it's not as special to my collection, but maybe someone else who doesn't have multi-chromes would probably see more value out of this. And overall, I feel like I just already had these. So for me to spend a higher price tag for shades that I already have in my collection makes it not as highly ranked, but I mean, the quality is excellent. If you're wanting to try shades like this, you don't have anything like this in your collection, I think it would totally be worth the higher price tag. I just already have this. Then the next palette on the ranking is from Shroud Cosmetics. This is the Moonfall palette. It's a very jewel tone palette. It has a lot of depth in here, but I think the matte formula is beautiful. I think the metallics are so intense, and they have definitely vamped up their metallic formula to be even more intense, because some of their other palettes don't have a metallic formula like this. They're so foiled and shimmery and beautiful, and some have shifts to them, but they're just gorgeous, like jewel tone shades. I really love this color story. I can see myself using this a lot because these are just the kind of shades that I like to wear, and I think the formula is excellent. That's why it's like closer to the top. It's a really pretty 9-pound palette. Then the next palette is from Unearthy Cosmetics. This is the Dead of Night palette. I love this one as well. It's a very jewel tone palette, but there are some lighter mattes in here, which I really appreciate. I think the metallic formula is really beautiful as well, and foiled and creamy, and I really love Unearthy Cosmetics. I think they have an excellent formula. I love their color stories, their theming, their packaging. I just really love this brand overall. The only thing with this one is it's lacking some depth. I think I need some lighter shades to add like a pop, or like maybe if I had a pastel or maybe some lighter shimmers to break it up would be nice, because I do feel like I have to pull in other palettes to create completed looks. But I still love the color story and the formula so much, and the theme as well. Then number 4 on the ranking, which I'm shocked that this is so high because it's an all matte palette, but I reach for this so much and the quality is amazing in here. This is the Blends palette from Blend Bunny Cosmetics, and so many people love this palette. It's a very popular one, and I think this is the most popular palette from Blend Bunny, so I finally picked it up during, I think, Black Friday. I was like, you know what, let me get this one. Everyone loves this, and I am so happy I did. Like, whenever I'm needing a certain color, I'll pull for this. If I'm using an all shimmer palette or using like my shimmer singles, I always want to pair it with these mattes because they're so good, and it has all the colors that I could need to create either a nudie look or a super colorful look, and I'm just impressed. Like, this is a really good matte palette, and I can see this being my main go-to all matte palette. I do have some more of these kind of matte palettes in my collection, but I totally think this is number 1. Excellent, so good. The color options, it basically has everything I need when it comes to mattes. Now going on to number 3 in the ranking. This is from Blend Bunny Cosmetics. This is the Lure palette. So beautiful. This came out when the Trove palette came out. This is also more jewel tone, but we have so much depth. We have mattes in here that are like lighter to do as inner corner highlights, and then these beautiful metallics. I just love how Blend Bunny sets up their palettes. Like, it's just so easy to see what kind of looks to do. You got the monochromatic rose, and you have everything you need to make completed looks, and I really love this like mermaid theme. The tones, it has blues, greens, purples, all the colors that I love to wear, and this is so good. I mean, Blend Bunny is such a consistent brand. I've loved all their palettes. I think they're just doing such a good job. Now going on to number 2 in the ranking, which is an Adept palette. So I had one really low, but now I have one really high. This is their Inspired palette. This is so beautiful in every way, and it's a really green palette, and greens are my favorite colors to wear, but there's something extra special about the metallics in here. They're very creamy, very buttery. They're a lot more smooth, but they're still also super intense. Some are extra sparkly, some are extra shifty. Like, they did something with this formula and they made them so special. And then the mattes in here are very pigmented, blendable. We got some murky tones. This matte mint is really pretty and pigmented. And it's just so good. It's just so sad that this is a limited edition palette. I think they did their last restock and they're not bringing this back. So I don't get why brands make like the most amazing palette and then make it limited. and like the whole world can't get a chance to experience. This is so special and probably my favorite palette from Adept Cosmetics. Then number 1 on the ranking, this brand really blew me away, like at how good it was. And this is a new brand to me. This is the Wicked Widow Scissor Hand Palette 2. I was so impressed by this. Like, it blew my mind when I tried it. I was like, how is this so good? And they're a smaller indie brand and they just nailed it with their formula. The mattes in here, excellent, high quality, pigmented, saturated, blendable. And then these metallics are so foiled and beautiful. We got the jewel tones in here. We got some intense dual chromes, this beautiful iridescent shifty shade that makes a gorgeous inner corner highlight. And they're so creamy and foiled. Like, look at that. Look at how beautiful and saturated they are. So gorgeous. And then the mattes are really pigmented. Like, look at that blue. Makes a beautiful inner corner highlight. The purple one here, like the formula is so buttery on their mattes and so silky, and they're just, it's just so good. And I think more people need to know about this brand because I feel like I don't see a lot of people talk about Wicked Widow. And I don't know if they're just like a newer brand, but they're so good. Like, this is high-end luxury quality in this palette. Like, this is why it's number 1. It just really impressed me. I loved it so much I went back and got the Scissor Hand Palette 1, which they revamped some of the things in that one. And it was on a pre-order. I'm not sure when I'm going to get it, but I cannot wait to try that one as well. So, Wicked Widow, you're doing an amazing job. I really love your formula in both metallics and mattes. And that is it, guys, for my ranking. All the palettes that I've tried from January into March, and they're all really nice palettes. I've enjoyed working with them and playing with them, creating looks and, you know, discovering new brands as well. So anyways, that was my thoughts on everything. You guys will have to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Were you surprised by my ranking? Have you tried any of these palettes? Or what are your like most favorite palettes you have tried recently, or favorite makeup products? I would love to hear from all of y'all. And if you're new here and you enjoy this video, you like a lot of fun, colorful makeup content, you like ranking videos, then please hit that subscribe button and join this little family. I would love to have you here. Also, don't forget to check out the description below. I'll have all these palette links, all the videos I did on any of these palettes if you want to see them in action, see me create some looks. I will also link the makeup that I'm wearing, like what's on my eyes and on my face, in case you're curious about that. I will also have my contact and my social media platforms. I'm also on Instagram as Breezy Lifestyle and Breezy_Beauty. And I did film this look for Breezy_Beauty, so definitely check out my Instagram pages if you want some different content, want to see some different looks. I would love for you to join my Instagram fam. But guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, for being here, supporting me, being amazing. I just appreciate you guys all so very much, and I just hope all of you are doing well wherever you are in the world. And I'm just sending you all so much light and love. But until next time, bye guys.